there. If you've ever awakened from an epic dream that felt like an action film or left you feeling very emotional, or even if you never remember your dreams, this segment is for you. Mimi Pettibone is the dream detective. She is here to uncover what our dreams are telling us and why they are so important. Welcome.
Thank you.
How'd you get started doing this kind of work?
Oh, I've always had a fascination since I was a small child. And then in college, I was actually in a dream group where we learned some techniques to work with our dreams. And ever since then, I just kept learning and studying and have been fascinated with it.
To me, it is really interesting stuff. And you say there's a difference between universal dreams and individual dreams. What do you mean?
Right. There are dreams that most people all across the world, even in different cultures, will have. Like flying and falling, and being chased is probably the number one. Teeth falling out, being naked in public. And those are just universal. And
how many people have had a dream like that? One of those. You're chased, you're flying. No, some no, some yes. Yeah, those are universal.
Yeah.
So even if you're in another culture, those things are very common for human beings.
Right. And so since they've been studied a lot, I can often say, well, you know, being chased usually means there's some kind of stress in your life, something that you're afraid of or running from. You know, in ancient times, we used to run from predators like a saber-toothed tiger. And these days, it's more likely to be money problems or relationship issues, even a health concern, something that triggers our fear response.
Now, do dreams always mean something? I mean, I have these bizarro, long dreams that don't seem to be connected to anything and are often very entertaining. Is it connected to anything in your life, or is your brain just kind of doing its thing while you're sleeping?
Absolutely. I mean, there's old theories that it's just day residue and it doesn't mean anything, but I really strongly believe that they do mean a lot, and they have a lot to tell us. And if we work with their messages and try to understand them, there is so much we have to learn from them.
Well, some of them, the common ones that you mentioned about, you know, having some anxiety dream where everybody's had that one where you're taking your final in college and you haven't been to class all year or something like that. You know, clearly we're feeling incompetent about something or pressured or anxious. Right. But is it important to sort of use that as a check-in for yourself to sort of say, gee, maybe I didn't realize I felt that way, but it's worthwhile thinking about it?
Definitely. That not being prepared for the exam is a classic dream. Almost all of us have had it. You know, it can come up at a time when we're really not prepared for something, and so it's sort of saying, hello, pay attention, and you might want to start preparing for that event you have. Or it's also very common to the personality type that would never let that kind of thing happen. So they kind of call it the overachiever's nightmare.
I used to have a dream when I worked on the newscast that I would hear the news theme music, and then suddenly I would realize that my hair was wet and up in a towel. I had that dream all the time. Very weird. Susie, I don't know if Susie's in the room. Susie Wiley, our audience coordinator, never remembers her dreams. What's up with that?
Well, you know,
or doesn't remember dreaming. I presume she does.
Yes, that is a good question and a good distinguishing point, because a lot of people say, I don't dream, or I haven't dreamed in a long time. But really, we all dream about 4 to 5 times every night. It's just a matter of learning to remember them.
And you think it's a good idea to do it?
I think so. I think the really, really important ones will surface and come up. We will remember those, you know, or when they say when we're ready, we'll remember them.
Let's talk about recurring dreams.
Okay.
Here are my two. One is falling elevator, and I'm desperately trying to push the buttons to keep it from falling. The other is I can breathe underwater. Did you know that? Apparently I can in my dreams. I can breathe underwater, and I'm often sitting at the bottom of the ocean just kind of peacefully swaying, and I'm looking up at the surface of the water, which sort of looks like the sky. But I dream that all the time. So help me out here.
Well, you think about it. Normally, most of us wouldn't be able to breathe underwater. So breathing underwater is a skill that kind of indicates that you have an ability to handle a situation that normally maybe a lot of people wouldn't. Maybe some kind of stressful situation where you're able to go through it with grace and ease.
It's called New Day Northwest.
Hello.
Just kidding. This is not stressful at all. That's interesting. So what about I've heard other people, does anybody else dream about falling in an elevator? That's common. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, there are falling dreams and there's falling in an elevator. Falling is one of those classic dreams. Part of it can have to do with what's going on with your life. So it might be a sense of a loss of control, because when we fall, we've sort of lost our foothold on something.
Why am I pressing all the buttons? There's a whole elevator full of people. How come I'm pressing the buttons?
Maybe you're the one who's trying to take control of the situation that's going down.
Perhaps someone else should, because I never do keep it from happening. Kurt in our audience has a question about a dream. Tell us what you had to offer us today.
Well, my situation was when I was small, and a kid, probably from 4 or 5 years of age up through probably about before junior high. I didn't have the dream, and I don't really know that I have dreams anymore. So this one kept this sort of thing. It was like you just mentioned a moment ago. I always thought in a lot of my dreams I could fly, and I would try to do it in dreams, and I couldn't do it. And so once in a while I could do it. So I was pretty impressed that I could fly.
So am I. That's great.
But the one that got me most, that I remember the most, was not just fly. I would really take off, and I would go up, 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 and straight up, and I'd get to a certain point, and I knew this was it. I'd just sort of stall out, and I'd start screaming down towards the earth. And then I just would scream, literally, I'm sure. I woke myself up because I was so afraid. It was going so great, everything was good, but when I quit going up, I came down fast.
Wow. And what's interesting to me about that is that you wake up with the actual emotion, right? That you were having in your dream. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you wake up with nothing, and sometimes you have that emotion left over, and it feels like something that really happened to you.
Yes, a lot of people report that. Well, we really are experiencing those emotions. So even though we're not physically going through the actual dream, our body responses are, our biology is. You know, our heart rate is speeding up. All of those things are really happening in our physiology, and those emotions are very real.
So it sounds like he was dreaming about aspiring to something and sometimes making it and sometimes not. It's interesting that you could sometimes and could not sometimes fly.
Right. So flying and falling are two of the most common dreams, and it's interesting that he actually had them both in one.
Yeah.
So flying is often a sense of freedom, accomplishment.
Right.
Sometimes there might be obstacles, either restrictions in movement or maybe a telephone wire that's in the way, and those can be representative of obstacles in our life. And then the falling dream, like we discussed, is more of a sense of a loss of control. There is also a biological element that can be in play here, and that is, you know, the term falling asleep. As we've all experienced, drifting off to sleep and having that kind of, like, even your body jerks a little bit, and it's a sense of falling. It's part of what happens biologically with us as we drift into those different states of consciousness. And anything that happens with our body can be incorporated into our dreams.
I think that is so fascinating. Mimi, thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
If you would like Mimi to interpret your dream, you can find a link to her website on ours. Ours is king5.com/newday.